All right, welcome back to the shop. So I've done a video before on changing the airbags on the suspension struts on these M1161, M1163 growlers. This particular one is an M1164. It's PM044. It's number 44. This thing has seen some salt water, and one problem with that is, you know, it gets into hardware, gets into bolts and nuts and stuff like that in the suspension. Even if they clean it out and whatever, you know, they don't get it all out, and it just freezes things up. So we went to do the airbags on here, and we could not get the bolts out of the bottom of the air struts, completely frozen in. With enough work, we could probably get them out and probably have to replace them. They're kind of a special shoulder bolt. But instead of doing that, what we did, we just pulled a valve cap off the bottom here, put an air gauge on there and just let the nitrogen out. So that releases the tension on it. We're able to get the top bolt out because it didn't see as much salt water. They didn't freeze up there. We got lucky on that. And we just swing it out, put the clamp on it. We'll pull the nut off the top. Ow, it's already hot. So we heat it up to break the Loctite in there. It loosens up the Loctite. So we'll spin that off and we'll be able to pull it out and rebag the thing in the chassis like that. So I'll film a little bit more here as we go, you know, on any interesting parts of it. That should be good. So once you heat this thing up, then you need to really either use a glove or a rag when you hold that rod eye. The aluminum's weird, you know, it absorbs heat really quick and it holds it for a while. So you can see inside, you see the red Loctite in there. I just take and hold it face down and just smack it on the ground a couple times, and most of the Loctite will just drop out of it. You don't have to get a brush or anything like that to scrape it out. But you might have to if there's too much left in it. That one we might have to scrape a little bit, not a big deal. You can see it on the end of the shaft here. All right, now that we got the clamp off there, so that aluminum clamp's nice. It doesn't mar up the chrome shaft here at all. That's actually the clamp that I bought from RideTech. Okay, just slide the bag off. It comes off with this piece sometimes. The last one, this center section stayed on the vehicle, made it easier, but we have a tool here for popping that off anyways. And then we just have to pop the top off of here. Usually we do it, it's a little different when we do it on the truck because we have it clamped on the vise. We stick a bar in here and pop this off, and then we take this, and then we lift the whole thing off the strut, and then we take this bottom piece out. But in this case, what we'll do is probably just clamp the bag right here, the bottom of the bag, in the vise, and then we can pry this off with a pry bar, and then we can come back to the tool, the kind of temporary tool I have to knock this floating member out of there. Then we just clamped it just on the rubber itself. Make sure you don't hurt that aluminum sliding piece. And this pops off pretty easy usually. It's easier when it's on the whole strut just because it holds it in place for you, but usually you end up popping a knuckle by the time you're done getting it off. There we go. Two bars works better for sure on this. All right, off to the specialized tool. we go. And then we'll inspect, we'll wipe this down a little bit, clean it up, and we'll inspect the O-rings inside. And just make sure they're good. Here's the bag. Look at this thing. It's just rotted out. This thing has seen better days. So the reason that we let the nitrogen out when we do it here in the vehicle, because when I do them on the back of my truck, I don't bother to let the nitrogen out, but it's because if you're able to pull it out of the bottom here, the way the pocket's built, you can get the bolt out. It drops down a ½ inch and you can slide it out, but the upper pocket's really deep. So we can't pull the strut down. You could, but it's pretty hard to pull it down to be able to get it to clear. But if we let the nitrogen out, we can just pull it down and it just goes down by hand real easily. And then when we're done, we'll line it back up. We'll get the bolt back in there and then we'll just charge it back up. This one had 120 pounds of nitrogen in each strut. Other vehicles I've done have had 100 pounds, so they're just right around that range. We're just gonna return them, put all these at 110 pounds. All right. So what Royce is doing is I use this is Murphy's tire soap. It's used for mounting, used to mount heavy equipment tires. It goes on, you know, liquidy, real slimy, and it ends up drying fairly quickly, and it turns into like a lubricating powder kind of a stuff. So he's just going to put on both of the seating surfaces of this. And we like to put it around the bulbous part here too, just so that because the rubber's going to rub on that kind of back and forth, and it just keeps it lubricated. Yeah, and you can lubricate the seals inside there. So the first thing that we do is we take this top piece and we pop it into the bead on the top of the airbag, and then the rest we slide back onto the strut. It's gonna be a little stiff, but they're not too bad. There it is. So that's how easy that is to pop on there. And then the rest of it. Oh yeah, that's right. You can do this on the back of the truck. Yeah. If not, you can do it on a strut if that thing bounces, bobs around too much on the back of the truck. There you go. There you go. That's on the mating surface, or the sealing surface. And then when you put it down, just kind of gently slide it over the very beginning, just so you don't mess up your O-rings. You're only going to mess up the O-rings if you really force it. So, and then it just has to collapse this down. It can be a little bit of a pain in the butt because it just kind of wads up. Once we get it all assembled, we put air to it, and air kind of pops the bag into the shape it's supposed to be in. But until then, it can be a little bit of a pain. Okay, so while he's holding that down a little bit, I've already sprayed this with some cleaner, with some starting fluid, just to get any greasy stuff off the threads. Put a little bit of Loctite on the threads. Spin the nut back on. And we just crank this back on until it starts spinning the shaft. Then he's gonna have to push a little farther, and then we'll have to mount put our tooling on there. Okay, I'm right about there. Okay, I had to put the camera down while we wrestled that. It's not that bad, but you know, it is what it is. So, you know, you see how this spins on, and then we just have to get this. You don't even have to tighten it that tight out. Torque spec isn't that much, but you just get a good cinch on it like that, and the Loctite is going to do the rest. So we pull this tool off, and then we can put it back up put the bolt in it. So then we just put it in the pocket like that. We compressed it down, and we just got to kind of jiggle it to get it to pop in with those spacers, and then we'll just line the bolt up in there, and that'll be it. Then we'll put air to it, fill the bag up, then we'll let the air out, and then we'll charge the nitrogen. Okay, so we got the bolt in there. Now we just put a rubber tip air gun on here just to inflate the bag to kind of fill it up to knock it all into place. It'll find its home in there. Kind of like seating a tire on a car. Okay, and the bag's in place. Now we'll hook up the equipment for the nitrogen, and we'll charge the nitrogen on it. Okay, so Royce has hooked up the gauge to the end there, and then we turn this. That'll depress the Schrader valve, and then we just watch the gauge here. This is 500 psi, so we just want to go to the very first nub. So just crack it open, let a little bit in, back it off, and then go just a little bit past that 100, and that'll give us a little bit more. That'll probably give us like 120 right there. And then we just back the knob off, let the Schrader out, and that's it. And then we'll pull this off, and then we'll check it again with a tire gauge that goes to 120. That way we can set it finely, because this gauge is it's a pretty high pressure gauge. It's hard to get a real fine setting at like 110, which is where we want to put it. And then when you're done, make sure you always put the Schrader cap back on, because a Schrader valve only holds air to hook and unhook your apparatus, and to test it. It's not designed to hold air permanently. They aren't a perfect seal. The cap itself is actually the seal. So always make sure you have a good cap on there, and it's snug down. Otherwise it's gonna leak. It's almost inevitable. So that's it. And then we just hooked the airline back up, and we've done the back two. We're gonna do the front two, and then we can test the system out and set the heights. And actually, after changing the bags, we do have to change the height setting, because the bags are gonna hold a different amount of air, just because the old ones were stretched out and hardened up and everything. And that's it. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and tell a friend about my videos, so we get some more people watching these things. The more people I get watching them, the more I want to put one out. So anyways, thanks, and have a good day.